Afternoon, VC. All right, big week here in Charlotte. So, been to a few gigs this week, and so I got a bunch of records here. So we're going to show you everything. Put some footage in where I can of the groups. First up, Tuesday night, we had an incredible show at Petra's, and some friends of mine ended up showing up late, which was unexpected. But a good group of folks were there on a Tuesday, and yeah, Ghost Trees, free jazz duo from here in Charlotte, opened affairs, and one of my favorite performances from them. They were really dialed in. And then the Paul Giallorenzo trio from Chicago played following them, and they're signed to Delmark, the wonderful jazz label out of Chicago. If you know Art Ensemble of Chicago, those types of bands were on that label back in the day. And then Curiosidades de Bombrile, which is a couple friends of mine, Davey and Bo. It's a interesting group. Very experimental, avant-garde Brazilian electronic stuff, I would say. You'll get to see and hear these clips that I'm going to put in. So, wonderful show. Really diverse. And yeah, so I wanted to show some records related to that gig. So we'll show you the full Ghost Trees catalog. And I'll leave a link to their Bandcamp. And if you dig what you hear in the clips, you can go on and order some records. So their first record is the new Gravity. This came out in 2013. There's the gentleman there, Seth Nana on drums and Brent Bagwell on saxophones. And when they started, they were full-on free jazz. Really, really good stuff there. And then this photo on the front cover of their second record is from outside of Snug Harbor, one of our wonderful venues here in Plaza Midwood. And it used to have that old boat sit out there. And this is one time when we got snow here in Charlotte, which cripples the city. This one was released in 2015 and recorded by Clay Miller at Echo Mountain Recording. Again, still in the free jazz realms here, just a duo. And then you had their third full-length, Universal Topics. And this was recorded with Maureen Sickler at Rudy Van Gelder's studio in New Jersey, in Englewood Cliffs. And this sounds incredible. Really, really good record. They get into some newer territories with what they're doing with the avant and free jazz stuff. And then their newest released is a double LP, also recorded with Maureen Sickler at Rudy Van Gelder's studio in Englewood Cliffs. This one is the best so far, Intercept Method. This is incredible. Yeah. Getting out of the freer realms a little bit and maybe going back to a little more lyrical in nature stuff, especially as far as the saxophones. Brent's tone is incredible on this. Seth is always doing his thing on the drums and keeping everything interesting. Very improvised and fantastic stuff. So there's the full length. Now they have released two other records. They released this, this was early on, they released this 10-inch self-titled. This is very, very free and intense. This is way out there stuff. This one, I don't think you can get on their Bandcamp. This one's I'm pretty sure is sold out. You may find it around town in Charlotte in a record store used. But it's a wonderful picture disc. Yeah, that's some. This is intense and badass. I actually think John Digital Gramophone has a copy. They also released this 7-inch. I think it's a double 7-inch. Yeah, double 7-inch. That they recorded at Goodyear Arts at the old location, I believe, in 2015. This is a really cool release where they did a big band performance here. So you have all these folks now in the mix, which is fantastic. Bo White played bass and did the recording of this. Ben Kennedy cello, Aaliyah Tuttle viola, Jeremy Fisher guitar, Tyler Baum on pedal steel, Scott Thompson piano and accordion, Eric Mullis vibes, and Andy Thulis on alto and tenor sax to accompany Brent on his tenor. This is really cool. I'll show you the records here. Really cool looking labels, and these are on a blue vinyl. And you should still be able to find the double, these double 7 inches around, or on their Bandcamp, hopefully. I just don't think this one's sold out, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that's the full Ghost Trees catalog. If you're into the free jazz duo stuff, like, you know, the Rashida Lee and Frank Lowe stuff, check out some Ghost Trees. And yeah, so the second group, I hadn't heard them before, the Paul Giallorenzo trio, and I was excited because in this trio is Joshua Abrams on double bass and Mikkel Patrick Avery on drums with Paul on piano. Again, from Chicago. I got to meet Michael Patrick Avery at Petra's. He was really cool to talk to. He was actually working on some electronic stuff. He's building a pedal for the band Tortoise that's going to actually be for sale, and at a reasonable price, he said. So I'm going to look forward to buying that pedal from him. But Joshua, of course, and Mikkel play in National Information Society. But Joshua wasn't there. He didn't make this gig, but they had a fill-in bass player, and I forget his name, but he was fantastic, so as you can see in the footage. They really changed it up song to song with what they were doing in the sound. Paul's a very interesting pianist. He can play free, he can play avant, and then sometimes it sounds like New Orleans style, or it's hard to describe his style. Very interesting. I hadn't seen the piano played like that before. Very, very cool. Excellent gig. Some of the solos were really spectacular, from the bass and from the drums to the musicians allowed themselves space to create in that group. Yeah, went over very well. Very well received. Everybody was into it. Really cool gig. And Paul was awesome to talk to. Very nice guy. I bought their LP, Play, that's on Delmark. Here, really cool LP. I'll show you the Delmark label. This is on black vinyl. Really nice pressing. Different color labels on each side. And he also gave me a couple CDs. Just threw them in for buying the LP, which was awful nice of him to do. I'll show you those CDs. Their first CD, it's called Flow, also on Delmark, with Joshua Abrams on bass and Mr. Avery on drums. This is a cool CD. And then he also gave me a copy of Play on CD as well. I want to say this is released in 2023 or 2024. So yeah, their newest offering on both CD and vinyl. Very cool. And then I don't think the guys in Bombrile had merch, or I would have bought it. They were really, really cool to check out. Davey's excellent on the drums, and he has electronics hooked up with everything he's doing with the bongos and all that. Really cool stuff. So what else do we have here? I got a wonderful VCLT package from Tice, Sound of Minder, out in Denver, Colorado. He had a spare copy. He was going through his records and of this, and sent it my way. Sam Rivers with Dave Holland, Volume 2 on Improvising Artists. And I was happy to get this because I have the first volume and had never found the second. Now, this is interesting because it's Sam Rivers playing flute on this on one side, and Sam Rivers playing piano on the other, with Dave Holland on bass accompanying. Very interesting with Sam playing those instruments, and because on Volume 1 you have Sam Rivers and Dave Holland, except Sam's playing soprano on one side and tenor sax on the other. Prefer this volume more because of the saxophones being on this, but this is excellent stuff. Sam showing off, you know, his abilities to play multiple instruments in this 2-volume set. Really cool. Also in the package from Tice, avant-garde music from Spain on the Candid label. And I love music from Spain, and he knows that, so he sent this my way. Yeah, some stuff on here from Xavier Bengarel, Joseph Soler, Joachim Holmes, Joseph M. Mestre Quadreni, yeah, some Rampal here. Very interesting stuff. Really looking forward to getting into this. I haven't had a chance to spin this one yet. It has a nice insert and a really nice label. Really beautiful pressing of this. I think he just found this locally there in Colorado, so that was awful nice of him to pick this up and send it my way. Now, you would think Tice is in my good graces, but he is in the shit house now. He threw this in the package. Barton Cummings on tuba. This is Elegy for Tuba and Piano. More like Eulogy for tuba and piano. But no, we'll check this out. And I have a feeling this is going to be very interesting because it's got it says Piltdown Fragments for tuba and tape. So there might be some very interesting things going on with tape loops or something on this. I don't know. Knowing Tice and his experimental music tastes, this could be very interesting actually. Barton Cummings on tuba. We're gonna give it a whirl this weekend. Thanks, man. And I got 2 more records here for this video. I'm gonna show. This is one I gotta thank Chris Cole in the VC. He had Record Wonderland set a copy aside on Record Store Day for me of Nathan Davis' Happy Girl, my #1 want for the day that I wasn't able to get here in Charlotte. This is a very expensive original on Saba. I think it's a German original. They did a gatefold version of this. Yeah, remastered from the original master tape, 180 gram. Nothing too fancy with the labels, but it is a heavy piece of wax, and it does sound really good. This is one of those records I found out about from that video that Madlib did at the French radio station archives. This is one he picked out, an original, of course, and played it, and it blew my mind. Wonderful playing on here from Nathan Davis, especially. But Woody Shaw's on trumpet, Larry Young piano, Jimmy Wood bass, Billy Brooks drums. Nathan's playing tenor, soprano, and flute on this. And just, yeah, this is prime Nathan Davis. One of my favorites of his. Very happy to get a copy. And this is what Record Store Day should be about for me, is very, very expensive and rare originals getting a top quality reissue. That to me makes it worthwhile. And then speaking of top quality reissues, this arrived, Marconi, Notaro, No Subreino dos Medazarios. My Brazilian is not that good, or Portuguese. Classic Brazilian LP. Originals on this are probably 4 figures. Fatiado Discos. I think my version here is this has been reissued a few times. I think this is a Spain pressing. I could be wrong. It's a nice insert. This is claimed to be pressed from the master tape, which is pictured there. And some versions of this that have been reissued have not been from the master tape. So, yeah, very stoked to get this LP, as I'm not going to fork out what they asked for an original on this. I did see that one was found at the record fair in Den Bosch by a wonderful lady that runs a record store in Brazil. That's it for this video. Hope you're well. Peace.